Hello, my name is Brian, and today we are going to dive into something that most people have never really questioned. But when did humans start eating 3 meals a day, and what is really right for humans? So let's go into it, and we need to start out with just flat out truth here. For 99% of human history, we did not eat 3 meals a day. The idea of breakfast, lunch, and dinner is way more modern, way more artificial than you might think. So let's break it down. All right, so humans didn't eat on a schedule. If you go back to our hunter gathering roots, humans weren't eating 3 times a day, not even close. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans ate when food was available, when the hunt was successful, and when they were actually hungry. Those three keys, those three things are very key here. So most of our ancestors ate just 1 or 2 meals a day, and sometimes they didn't eat at all in a day. Nowadays, we consider that fasting, but for them, that was just normal life. There was no breakfast bell, no lunch break, no dinner at 6, just real food when it was available. Okay, so let's look at some ancient civilizations here. Let's look at the ancient Greek civilization. They ate mostly one meal with maybe a little bit of a snack here and there, but it was mostly one meal per day. Okay, let's look at the Roman civilization. Romans ate 2 meals. They would normally have a smaller meal earlier in the morning, sometime after they got up, and then a bigger meal later in the day. All right, so let's look a little bit later in history, closer to now, to our present time, but still back a ways, a few hundred years. This is the Middle Ages. During the Middle Ages, people still only ate 2 meals. Breakfast wasn't common and was actually seen as a sign of weakness or illness. Can you imagine that today? I mean, a weakness or illness by eating breakfast. Today, everybody seems to eat breakfast, right? But it was a different time back then. All right. So, when actually did a third meal come into existence? Well, it really came into play with the Industrial Revolution, and that is only about 150 to 200 years ago at the most. Here's the deal: factories were suddenly on these strict schedules, right? People got up really early in the morning to work. They worked long shifts. There was no flexibility. And they were very, very active. They were much more active than a lot of people are actually today. And because of that, they were eating, multiple meals. So they kind of had that midday meal during their working time, right? So that is kind of when lunch was really born, that lunch middle meal of the day. This wasn't human biology talking. This was the factory whistle that was talking, right? All right. So by the 1900s, so now just the last 120 years here or so, you had schools, you had these corporations, you had the food industry, you had advertising, and all this reinforced to us the idea of 3 meals a day is normal and healthy. That's what came out of all of that. But that normal doesn't mean natural. This meal pattern of 3 meals a day is modern, it's cultural, and let's be honest, it's really industry driven. You look at the food industry and they make more money when people eat 3 meals a day as opposed to 1 or 2 meals a day because they're selling more food. All right, so now why does all this matter to the carnivore diet? Well, let's take this back, tie it into the carnivore diet. When you eat nutrient dense food, we're talking about meat, eggs, fat from animals, that kind of stuff. You don't need to eat 3 times a day. Now, yes, there are some people that they might eat a little bit smaller meals, so they end up eating 3 times a day. But generally, the norm on carnivore is 1 or 2 meals a day. Your hunger gets stabilized, your energy stabilizes, and your hormones stabilize. And that's a key thing there too. But it's 1 or 2 meals a day. And they do that without really even trying. That's because the human body has been wired for this since the beginning. So the idea of 3 miles a day, 3 meals a day, it's a modern invention. It's a cultural habit. It's not a biological requirement. If anything, it's one of the biggest mismatches between our ancient biology and modern lifestyle. If you found this interesting, make sure to like the video, drop a comment down below, and subscribe for more content from me.